After literal years of waiting, just a day after we called the beginning, it has begun. Walls up in downtown Disney in front of the ticket booths and Earl of Sandwich. Let's also check in on those trees and the future Coco site where we're hearing rumors where that's also about to get underway. This is the latest in construction news around the Disneyland Resort. This is Fresh Baked. Now, let's get out to Katella Avenue. Taking my now customary walk down Katella Avenue towards Disneyland Drive, just checking in on a few things. It looks like that tree trimming that was happening here on the perimeter next to Katella is over, complete, no trucks outside, no fallen trees, no leaves anywhere, so that appears to be done. Unrelated to what's happening at the corner of Katella and Disneyland Way, which we are arriving to now at this point. And we're just looking to see if anything has started, if any trees are coming down, if any changes in the ribbons, etc. There's a look through the gate. That building on the other side of that gate, that's the portable building that we're looking for them to be moving in the near future. We'll see that again from the Pixar Pal Around. And we'll take a walk through here and check out all these trees. I heard somebody say that these trees are worth thousands of dollars each. I just find that incredibly hard to believe, but yeah, man, these are very expensive apparently. And all of them are going to be removed. That's our best guess. All of these trees are going to be removed, and all of that landscape and everything to bring out, to expand the backstage area in order for them to grow that backstage area for Coco. We're lining up that paint there on the sidewalk with where the majority of the ribbons are. So I think that's confirming again my feeling that the ribbons indicate what kind of utility is near these trees. If these trees, when they get removed, are they near any kind of utility? That's electrical right there. That paint on the ground. And the green would be sewage typically. But we got a large array of trees here. These are marked green, and then back against the fence are marked red. There's also some green ones back there as well. And then some that are not marked at all. Those I would believe to be not near any kind of utility. But as we keep making this walk, we're going to be doing this walk every week until something happens or until they stop us. Because at some point I have to believe that we're not going to be able to do this, and we'll have to watch it from across the street, perhaps on the other side of Disneyland Drive instead of getting right next to them. Because if they're going to take all this stuff out, they're going to put fences up, etc. And they're actually going to probably close this path, I think, for a little while. I don't know permanently, but for a little while at least, for however long it takes them to, get this thing started. We're progressing toward the half of the hidden Mickey that you can see from above. If you look at it from Google Maps, we're not there yet, but I'm just checking all these various locations to see, what we can hear. That's right there. Right there is that portable building again. That's where we're looking now to see, we're going to be looking for that moving sometime in the foreseeable future. This is that area that I was talking about. It's a hidden Mickey, actually. As you approach the end of this path, it's one ear of a hidden Mickey, and the other ear is on the other side of the street. You can only see it visibly if you look at it from Google Earth or whatever, and you can kind of get a sense of what it is. We're approaching the ear now. I always felt like that was kind of neat that they did that, and hardly anybody notices it or realizes it. No ribbons on these trees here, so I'm expecting this to be not related. Well, I mean, they're still going to be removed, but no utility interference here, no ribbons here, and we are now. That's the utility road that we're expecting to become the access point from guests coming on stage, going behind that fenced area and into the new Coco space. Here's the ear, and then that's all red. Everything in there is red. It's all red. I just can't believe. Yeah, I have to believe, I should say, that this is all going to go. We're not going to see any. It seems to be the most sense. If they want to grow this thing, they need to maximize their space. Why leave anything behind? Just take the whole thing. As I mentioned, though, we're going to be taking this walk every week for as long as we're able, right up until this gated fence area. And we're going to be watching this to see if, when we see that fence, that gate get scrim on it, or if they do that gate update that we are possibly contemplating. There's a permit for a new gate. We're not sure if this is it or not, but as soon as we see some action here, we'll know things are about to get started. when we see a scrim go up on that gate, you know, when they try to block our view, and this is from across the street I was talking about, this is where we might have to see the eventual, you know, demo of those trees back there. We're going to have to see it from across that street. Let's get into the second biggest story. Actually, I'm sorry, this is the biggest story of the week. We're in downtown Disney looking at the former Earl of Sandwich, former Brea Bakery, now future Portos. That building is going to be destroyed. They have last week, you recall, I said, looky here. When they take those stanchions down in front of these ticket booths, then you know they're about ready to get started. We said that months ago. When they take, as long as those stanchions are up, nothing's going to happen. When the stanchions come down, something's going to happen. And no sooner did we said that on, or we filmed it on Friday, published the video on Monday. 2 days, that Monday, actually, the Monday that we published, I was there for State of Disneyland, and I found walls up, and they were beginning to close off this area. So it took just a couple days for them to get started. Now those walls have extended all the way to Earl of Sandwich. It's from Earl of Sandwich to the ticket booths. And that's covering a lot of space there. Just try to imagine, you guys, the reason why the walls are this big is because that's the entire space that's going to be consumed by this new Portos. Portos is going to be enormous. There's the backside of things. They got paint crew down there, which is curious because, well, it looks like paint, but I don't know what they're painting. But yeah, that whole, from everything from Earls to those ticket booths is going to become future Earls. This is the concept art. Okay, so that's the main building. That's the covered building. All of that's going to be Earls. And then to the left of it, where that the patio area was, that patio area is also going to be that building. She's saying hello. So that building is going to be the size of Earl's plus the patio seating area for Earl of Sandwich. There was new concept art that Disney just released recently, and that's an outdoor seating area. That is not going to be the current Earl's seating area. That's going to be where the ticket booths are. That's why they're putting that art here, right where the ticket booths are. That's where the outdoor seating area is going to be for Portos. Portos, if you've ever seen one, they're enormous. There's one in Buena Park. There's one in Burbank. I think one of them in West Covina. Absolutely outstanding. They've got an array of delicious treats. So much food. They've got delicious, yummy, sweet treats. They make great coffees. Look at that. That's chicken and some black beans, and I don't know what that vegetable is, but it looks delicious. Look at that sandwich, savory sandwiches. This is all Cuban inspired. The original Mama Portos or whatever, she came from Cuba and opened a couple of Portos here. Oh my gosh, I've got to eat these sandwiches. They look outstanding. There you go. There's Mama Porto back in 1960. I don't know why I'm calling her that. She started in Cuba, coming over here, and she's brought her whole family. Portos is now a Southern California delight, and I want to know what those look like, some kind of loaded fries. All these pictures are out there. You can get an idea of what's going to be coming to Portos. I can't wait. I mean, at the risk of overhyping this, I don't know. I'm more excited about Portos coming to downtown Disney than I am about Avengers Infinity Defense. I have limited experience with Portos. I've been to 2 of them a few times each, but I have loved every experience I've ever had there. Portos is awesome. I know people are like, kind of like nonchalant about it. You may not know. If you don't know, you got to know. Portos is great. Awesome family-owned operation. You know, it's just affordable and it's delicious, and it's the kind of food that you can't get at other locations. It's non-standard. That's the way, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not the same usual stuff you can get. I can't wait for Portos to get here to downtown Disney. I hope it does. I hope it gets here quick, but I doubt it, but I'm hoping. And I'm going to eat there all the time. Let's get into DCA because we still got more work to do. Lamplight Lounge is hitting the refurb calendar. Actually, it's closed right now. It'll be open, though, by the time you see this video. Lamplight is going to be closed for 3 days over the weekend. My best guess is, as we're walking by, is paint and polish for the building. Nothing major. Just doing some routine maintenance on the exteriors, it looks like. Perhaps some interiors as well. But don't expect this to be anything guest-facing in a way that you would say, something new or different is going to be happening here. Just routine maintenance at Lamplight Lounge. Incredicoaster, we noted, is going to be on the refurb calendar as well, coming up in January. It's open today. The Incredicoaster has been struggling it has been closed often. When we came, the last couple of Fridays we've come through here, it was closed. On the last, I want to say the last state of DCA, it was closed. It did open for our Closing the Park video, which was great. We rode Incredicoaster while World of Color was happening, which is amazing. You guys got to check out that video. I'm not sure if I published that yet or not, but stay tuned. We closed both DCA and Disneyland that night, but Incredicoaster will be closing soon as well. We'll keep making our way. There it is. Incredicoaster flying through the Pixar Pier loop. What a great scene this is. All right, let's get on that Pixar pal around to check in on what's happening with the Coco area backstage. Again, this is the proposed area where they're going to be expanding backstage in order to build the new Coco attraction. Not a lot of action here. Nothing has changed as far as I can tell. We'll come back and look at that again. The wheel is constantly moving. We're going to switch over to Avengers Infinity Defense, where the story is still, putting up that truss system, but it does look like they've been adding more steel there. We'll get a closer look at that in a minute, but the truss system is still in progress. There's still more on the ground there. You can see more of that still on the ground. They've yet to install all of it. But there you can see some more steel down there just to the left of the crane. And then we'll pan right and see what's happening. Not a lot of action on the building top. Not when we were looking at it from the Hotel on Harbor or now, which I don't know if we have that footage here today. But look at that. Okay, so that looks like, is that a crew down there? I think that's crew. Yeah, there's guys working down there. Amazing. Okay, so they're building something. It looks a lot fuller from this angle. It's difficult to tell for sure, but it looks a lot fuller. I asked what that board was. I forgot the name of it, and obviously our fans came through in the comments section. I was told that is OSB, Oriented Strand Board, which is sort of it's similar, I guess, to plywood, which was the word I was trying to think of when I was doing this. That wasn't particle board, it was plywood. But a lot of folks were saying, no, that is OSB, which is, standard in building this kind of structure, which is good to know. Thank you very much, Fresh Baked, for that. So there's OSB being installed there in the restroom. We'll turn around again, take a look behind. Let's see, that's Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta. Nothing happening back there. We're going to keep an eye on that little path right there through Incredicoaster tracks. That is the service road that connects the gate at DCA to the backstage area. And then there again is space that we can see from Disneyland Drive. You can see back there. Okay, so that crate is still there. We've had our eye on that wrapped crate for now 3 or 4 weeks. The door is open so we can see that there are some boxes packed up there. Now, there were boxes packed up about a month ago. I want to say back, early November, we saw the door open and there were boxes back there. Different array of boxes this time. They don't look exactly the same. They look different. They could be the same and just arranged differently, but it looks like something is happening inside that building. Nothing is happening on the outside of that building, though. Nothing is, nothing is moved. When something moves back there, then we're going to be on it. Let's go to Luigi's. And yeah, look at that. Okay. Oh my gosh. Hey, they're actually working back there. We've got some sort of heavy machinery. I think he's just bringing something to a construction worker there. I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a lot more vertical rebar there than there was before. Here's that guy. Yeah, it looks like he's delivering some materials to that guy. There he is. He's obscured by the lift, but he's bringing materials to that guy who's in the middle of constructing something. You can see the steel in his hand. I don't know. Yeah, he's just placing that there. That goes there. And then he's going to grab another piece here. That goes right there. Roger that. Okay, good. We're making progress. We're building something. And now he's done delivering. That highest rebar that's in the forward part of your image right now is new. That was not there last week. You can kind of see beyond that rebar, the shorter rebar behind it, right? So that's what we were seeing in weeks past. This rebar here, I think, is new, and it suggests a new dimension for this building. It also, by the way, suggests that it's taking up the entire path. That rebar goes the width of this path. That's interesting, right? So are we going to go under it, perhaps? Are they going to build something to cover us and they create a more transformative experience? Because I'll tell you, that path from Avengers Campus to Cars Land was not a shining moment for Disney in terms of theming, in terms of Disney's known for their quality transitions. They do great jobs of transitioning from one land to another. You take a look at from Adventureland into New Orleans Square is just perfection. Traditionally, it's kind of changed. It's kind of evolved a little bit because of the gift shop. But the New Orleans Square transition to Critter Country was exquisite. The transition from Critter Country, or what is now Bayou Country, to Galaxy's Edge, exquisite. It's fantastic. The transition from Avengers Campus to Cars Land, not quite exquisite. It leaves a little bit. It's just a path. It's just a path, and then in one moment you're in Avengers Campus, the next you're in Cars Land. So maybe that's what they're doing here. Maybe they're building something that we can go through a tunnel. You drive a car through a tunnel, and let's say it's themed in one way, and then when you come out the other side of the tunnel, a vehicle tunnel, you are in Avengers Campus, which I think that would be fine. That'd be great. And what's interesting is that path is preventing us. That path is closed. It's preventing us from looking on this other end. That's the path you would have gone through this. That's the direction that we're looking at right now. That path is closed so they can build this, so they can do this. But that path, that we were just looking at would have brought you right where I'm standing right now. Again, it looks about the same. Not a lot of movement here. Not a lot of action with the truss system. It's ongoing. I couldn't really find. I found one guy back there. He's constructioning. I think he's talking to somebody up on the roof though, perhaps. So maybe there's two guys. But I keep getting here around their, early lunch break, perhaps. Maybe I should get here a little later in the future. We'll see. We're gonna stop real quick at Hollywood Backlot. Nothing to see here. We're just gonna be watching that because it's gonna be a situation where that building's. We don't have a date. We don't have a date yet for the Hollywood Backlot for Monsters, Inc. We're still standing by for that. Here's that look that I suggested. I wasn't sure if we had or not, but we do. This is from the Harbor Boulevard hotels out there. We're looking at the backside. There's some steel there. That's new. That's steel on the right flank of that building that faces Harbor Boulevard. That was not there last week. This is last week, and you can see that flank was completely bare. So, hey, there's something that we, every week I come through here, nothing observable. Observable action. There it is. We got a bunch of steel, which suggests, I think, that they're going to be closing in. That could be the first place where we see sheathing or some other exterior surface being applied. I'm not sure what the steps are, how many more steps go between now and sheathing. But I feel like that's a good indicator of something anyway. Let's see, anything on the backside here? Yeah, just the same thing. I think they're probably going to start adding that same steel by next week. We might see that same steel on this backside as well. Let's go to downtown Disney next. That's the backside of Earl of Sandwich. Now that we're making this walk down Disneyland Drive, we're able to see different angles that I didn't go and get previously. So this is the backside of Earl's, and there was a lot of whooping and hollering going on back there. There was a lot of activity, and this was quite early. This was 9 a.m. So they were really busy at work here, working on the upper portions of that building. And it needs to get moving quickly because I feel like they want to have this thing open sooner rather than later, that's for sure. There's, once we pass through security, there's that side that we often get from Earl of Sandwich. Nothing happening here other than the sound. But no action. I couldn't really hear any action towards the front side of the site, nor could I see any, even shadows working on that front side. I think they're all working at the top. There's Lulu. Hey, look, it's officially. Now, can we stop calling it the ESPN Zone? Can we call it the Lululemon building now? Is Lululemon going out of business? People keep saying that. I feel like that's an odd thing to happen, going out of business while opening a new location. So the signage is up. We got images of this from the street team last week regarding this. And it looks like now the sign is up. We can get video. And we also have this image from the street team. That's lights on inside the building. So yeah, you can see that the flooring is finished. The flooring is complete. They've got some of the, infrastructure. They're installing the shelving and all the table elements where they're going to put, displays and things like that. So they do appear to be pretty close. I think we're probably just a couple weeks away, maybe. It's going to take about that long just to finish installing all the cabinetry and shelvings and all that stuff, get the merchandise in there, and then train staff, do a soft opening. So I would say probably at this point you're looking at You're looking at 2 to 3 weeks is my guess. Heading through downtown Disney. Nobody's waiting at the Parkside Market Cafe. I'm really rooting for these guys. For whatever reason, I want this place to succeed. There are some guests waiting for their coffee, but nobody ordering. There's the monorail. So delightful to see the monorail come in as you're walking through downtown Disney. That's quite a sight, actually. I really do appreciate that imagery right there. That is singular, in my opinion, a really defining moment at downtown Disney. The Lego store is making a lot of progress, finally. It looks like the shield and green flame from the Maleficent Dragon have been restored. We were talking about how this was missing last week, the green flame was, and I think his shield was as well. That is back, so they're nearing finish, and you can see some crew there wrapping up that work on the scenery behind that space. No action still at Tortilla Joe's. Sunglass Hut is open. Looks great. Don't you think? They got all the new lights up there, the displays and everything. Looks great. I guess. I wouldn't know. I've never been in there before, so I have no idea if that's better or not. I don't know why that amuses me. The idea, because like influencers are like, oh my God, here the new thing is here, whatever, and I love it. And like, I mean, I don't have an opinion on Sunglass Hut. I'm sorry. Want to take a minute to remind you guys of our preferred travel affiliate, GetAwayToday. We love GetAwayToday. If you're looking to make a trip, if you're planning, if you like what you see from the parks these days and you want to make a trip to Disneyland, do us a favor. Use the link in the description to contact GetAwayToday. A, because you're going to get the best customer service you've ever gotten from a travel agency. And two, we love them. They're great. They're kind. They're awesome. They're knowledgeable. They're the best. And by doing so, you support not only a small business, a family-owned business like GetAwayToday, but you also support Fresh Baked. So use the link in the description. Plan your trip to Disneyland. I hope we get to say hi to you guys while you're here, and we'll see you then. Okay, on our way out, we're going back out to Harbor Boulevard to check in on some construction work out there, but I wanted to pause and note that these other 4 on the opposite side, these ticket booths, are still there. They're not going anywhere. Even the vacant one, no plans for that to be removed, and the other one is still being used for DAS services. We'll cross the street on Harbor Boulevard to our place next to the Tropicana Inn. Looks like that paint has gone white. They've added white paint now where this was green the last 2 weeks. But no new paint otherwise. Everything looks to be the same. We saw crew out here kind of, plotting things. So I don't expect to see any action on this site for a little while, but we'll come back maybe in a month or so and check that out. There is lots of action, though, out here. This is the Harbor Boulevard entrance where I guess the final street that you cross before you go to bag check on Harbor Boulevard. And there's that paint that we've seen before. Actually, it looks like more paint. But that new blacktop right there, that's where they dug. We saw images here from the street team where they had crew out here overnight, and it looks like they finished doing this stage of work, I would imagine, installing new electrical, beefing up the electrical out here that feeds power to Disneyland, specifically to the bag check area. So they put in new asphalt here. They've topped that off again. I do think, though, that they're not done because this is supposed to be a year-long project. So that could just be phase 1, and they could just put that. They have to, they've got to cover that up, I guess, even if they're not done, so guests or cars can drive on that. But that strip spot goes all the way down the street, halfway down towards the Anaheim Hotel, the backside of the Anaheim Hotel, if we can get a look. The candy cane bus is in the way. But yeah, you can see how it continues all the way down the street. There you go. There's another look at it as I cross the street. So that's happening. So there's, impactful work being done there on Harbor Boulevard. The action that the sign has been promising is in effect, and it is happening. And this, as I said, is ongoing. Getting back though to that first shot, it looks like you'd see that orange dashes. It looks like they've cut the concrete there. So I don't know what that means in terms of what else they might be doing, but that looks like they've cut the concrete on those dashed lines. For what purpose? I don't know. That pink paint also looks new, by the way. I don't recall that. It's been a minute since I put eyes on the paint. So, but when we saw the pink on the other side, it was for right-of-way stuff. Thank you guys, by the way, for giving us the heads up on that. But I can't really tell. I tried my best to see what the pink stuff was, but I couldn't read any of it. And So I don't know what it could possibly mean, but that looks like new paint, and it does look like they've cut. You can see where they've cut the concrete more here as well. All right, let's actually get back into Disneyland finally, where there's pretty much nothing happening. We mentioned last week that the Jungle Cruise, we think, is going to be closed in March, and there's a new permit for the Jungle Cruise. It says structural repairs to rockwork. There are various rockwork sites throughout the Jungle Cruise, so we don't know which that could be. There's the elephant bathing pool, where the scene with the long-necked cheetahs, and probably elsewhere as well that I can't think of at the moment, but there's that. So we don't know which rockwork is going to be worked on. Plus, remove and reinstall posts with new footings. I wonder if it's possibly, because I've heard rumors that they might be working on this scene. If you go to the exit of Indiana Jones, we've talked about this in the past, how rotted out this whole space is, and not in a way that's thematically rotted. It's literally rotted. That wood is literally rotted for real. And they actually there was a generator there that they took out. That was the generator was rotted out also. But this whole deck is on. If you look at it from the Jungle Cruise side, when you go by, you can see it's post and pier. I think that's the term you use for that. It's a deck supported by posts with footings. So it's possible that they may not be redoing the boxes or any of those thematic elements, but they might be replacing the actual deck, which is really the part that is the problem. So hopefully that is the case. We'll keep an eye on that from the Jungle or from the Indiana Jones side, because if they're closing the Jungle Cruise, we won't be able to see anything there. We didn't get a chance to update you guys on this scene last week, but I wanted to confirm scrim and scaffold are down at the water tower at the Disneyland Railroad and the New Orleans Square Station. That has been completed. It is now a functioning water tower once more. That whole nozzle thing up there is functioning once more. They can give water to the train. Let's take a look at the refurb calendar before we end this wonderful episode of construction here at the Disneyland Resort. Grizzly River Run closing on January 5th. No date yet for that. Closing on January 5th. That is routine maintenance. They do this every single year. They used to do the same for Splash Mountain, although I don't know if I haven't seen any plans for Tiana's to go down, but this is a yearly thing. Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind closing on January 5th. We have a date for now of January 22nd, so that's actually 2.5 weeks of closure for Emotional Whirlwind. Unrelated, I think, to whatever they're doing with Coco. I do not think this is related at all. First of all, it's too early. If they were related, they would do it much later. They wouldn't be doing that now, I don't think. Incredicoaster, as we mentioned, is closing on January 5th. No known date yet. Normally, that suggests, well, I would say at this point it's at least 2.5 weeks then, because if it were less than that, we would have a date, because that January 22nd is, we can see that far into the future. There is the 4-day closure for Lamplight Lounge. It'll be open once more on Monday, the day you watch this. And then over at Disneyland, Mark Twain is closing on January 12th, also for just 4 days, reopening on January 15th, routine maintenance, I'm sure. Haunted Mansion closing on January 12th. That is to restore the classic Haunted Mansion, take out the Nightmare overlay. And then Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. That's one thing we forgot to talk about earlier in the show, didn't we? Let's talk about Star Wars Rise of the Resistance closing on January 20th with no known date. Now, there's only a couple days in the future on the calendar, so that doesn't really mean anything. It could just be a few days. We don't know. But there is another permit for Rise. This permit was posted on Theme Park IQ. Tenant improvement, construct new maintenance platform at Scene 15. They're going to attach a new fence enclosure and exterior door. Now, everybody what's Scene 15? What are they doing at Scene 15? I mean, just armchair checking. I went through a ride-through of Rise of the Resistance, and I counted what I believe to be each distinct scene. And the 15th scene, as per my judgment, starting from the beginning when Finn sets you off and you start, running off in your vehicle, the 15th scene was the last encounter with Kylo, when he, uses his force powers on you and then gets blown out the back of the building. I don't know if that's related or not, if it's the same scene, I don't know. But it's kind of moot, though, because I've been sort of tracking this, and it came up later. Theme Park IQ posted later that particular permit was marked completed. So it's not related to the refurb that's coming up. So apparently they did that. You know, that scene was dark, or not dark, but that scene was in B mode for a stretch. I don't know if you guys remember that. There was a stretch of a couple weeks where it was in B mode. And people were wondering if it was broken or whatever. It could have been that they were doing whatever it is that they did in that time. So we don't know yet what it is they're going to be doing for Rise. It's great though that they are, in the sense that, I know it's going to sound weird for me to say that, but Rise has not. I can't remember Rise ever going down for refurb. It breaks down often, but it never closes like for an extended days or a week or weeks. I don't think it has. So it probably needs some work. It probably needs some routine maintenance to get things straightened up. You might notice that the cannons aren't working again. Last time I went through, the cannons were not working, so it could be they're trying to fix that. There could be an array of things that may not be working right, and hopefully they put in the time to get that working. Rise should be a operational attraction always, because it's the breakdowns that do the most damage when it comes to extending standby wait times. It's the breakdowns that cause the wait times to balloon into the 60, 70, 80 minute range. So we'll keep an eye on Rise of the Resistance to make sure, or to find out when that thing is going to come back online, and we'll stay tuned for more. You should stay tuned for more. That's our show right now, guys. That's it. Thanks for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh bite.